Hello Geeks and Gamers, Matt Lemke here with your Gamer Goggles, and today we have another flip through for you. This one is on the Monster Manual for D&D Next. I'm pretty happy with this book so far. I haven't read the whole thing. I've learned a few things. I like the cover a lot. I'm a very big fan of this cover. I think there is a great story in this cover, and it does something. The art is very dynamic on the cover that says something about the beholder, which we'll get into in a little bit. The book is what you expect after seeing the player's handbook. It's high quality, nice pages. They're embossed. They have a I don't know what the right word is for it. I'm going to go ahead and use chalky, but there's no grit. It's very sleek and smooth. Probably get a paper cut pretty easy. One thing I want to focus in on this is right here. This tells me a lot about D&D Next and where the game design crew is going with it. A monster is defined as any creature that can be interacted with and potentially fought and killed, even something as harmless as a frog or as benevolent as a unicorn. That means it also applies to humans, elves, dwarves, and other civilized folk, which is pretty cool because when you think about it from a storytelling point of view or a GM, there are many times where the monsters, at least in campaigns I've been involved in, either as the storyteller or as a party member, where the bad guys have been basically NPCs, using monsters as pawns. So I think that was a really good thing they did. Plus, it opens up things to creating really cool characters for DMs as potential archenemies. I mean, if you look at TV shows and things, I mean, this is kind of getting off topic, but if you look at things like TV shows where you have a long-going series, you have, like, for example, in White Collar, Caffrey has more than one individual that comes back from his earlier portion of his life that kind of haunts him or taunts him or gets involved in some way and agitates him. And that is a focus that I think this is starting to change, and you're going to start. You don't need to look at monsters as monsters the way we traditionally have anymore. You can now look at them as NPCs that think and breathe like humans, which I think for many people we haven't done. And then the next important section, or well, it's not so much important, but it's a nice section, is where do monsters dwell? And it goes through different settings like dungeons, underdark, underwater, towns and cities, wilderness. And I'm just going to touch upon, they do what you would expect. They give you a brief description, but then they expand on it with like one sentence descriptors of potential. Whole adventures can be based on some of these. Like, here's one for the Underdark that I really like: a mind flayer prison or asylum filled with mindless thralls and raving lunatics. I think it's a great backdrop for a story. Here's another great one for in the city, especially if you're playing like in an Eberron setting. The last part doesn't have to apply, but in an Eberron setting, there's so much intrigue right here with this sentence. It's not even a sentence, it's just a descriptor. A clock tower that serves as a base for a guild of Kenku rogues and assassins. Wow. It's just bam, right there. They talk about the planes of existence, they talk about, other locales and things of that nature. Then they move into size categories, the different types, alignments. They talk about alignment a little bit. They talk about how creatures without an alignment are unaligned, and you can do whatever you want. They also talk about how when they list an alignment, that's what the creatures tend to. And then they talk about hit points a little bit, and they list by size. The larger the size, actually, the larger the hit die. So gargantuans have a D20, for example. And then they go speed, skills. They go over, all the different languages, the challenge ratings, stuff that if you've played Dungeons and Dragons before, you're pretty familiar with. You just need to learn how it's changed whatever ways for D&D Next. And then it goes over all the different special traits, and we move into legendary creatures, which we're going to talk about legendary creatures as we start flipping through the book. Legendary creatures are basically creatures that are historically beasts in Dungeons and Dragons. For example, we have the Beholder right here, Beholders, which if you look at them, they have the overview on the Beholder, and then they have Beholder's Lair, and lair actions, regional effects. Then they have Death Tyrant, and Death Tyrant's Lair. Now before we talk about the regional effects and lair actions, let's talk about legendary creature. The Beholder is a legendary creature, therefore it gets legendary actions. And legendary actions are actions that are actually taken by the creature on the party's initiative, for lack of a better word, or at the tail end of an initiative. For example, there's 5 fighters fighting the Beholder. The first fighter has initiative and attacks. At least the way I understand it, and I haven't read all the combat yet. So the way I understand it is at the end of another creature's action, the Beholder gets to use one of these legendary actions. So the Beholder can fire one of its rays at random 3 times when it's not his turn or activation, which is pretty impressive. Now, if you take that back, that makes legendary really means something, and I think it really heightens up the fear. But let's heighten up the fear a little bit more and talk about lair actions. Lair actions are actions that happen within the creature's lair, obviously. For example, here's a good one that I like, actually. A 50-foot square of ground within 120 feet of the Beholder becomes slimy. That area is now difficult terrain until initiative counts 20 on the next round. So, you're fighting it, and then all of a sudden you're on difficult terrain. That's pretty bad. And then there's regional effects are things, well, this one, for the Beholder, it has a very wide reach for the first one. Creatures within 1 mile of the Beholder lair sometimes feel as if they're being watched, so they're uneasy. They might know that something's going on there. There are some other cool creatures in the book. I mean, there's actually a lot of cool creatures in the book, but I am more impressed with the art than pretty much anything in the book. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot more fluff in the book, per se. A lot more background information on all the creatures. In fact, here's a good example. We'll move right to the drow, because we're going to move through the book. As you can see, there's plenty of art. Oh, these are demons. They did a real good job with the demons. There's a lot of demons and devils, and they took the time to really do it. There's about 40 or 50 pages on the Displacer Beast. That is actually probably my favorite picture in the book. There's probably 40 or 50 pages on dragons too, which we're not going to cover a lot. I didn't take the time to read it. Dragons, they're going to be there a while. My characters aren't ready to face them yet, so I'm, not worried about it. And plus, I'm going through Tyranny of Dragons, so I don't want to deal with knowing everything just yet. Oh, here we go. Drow. They have, like, for some of the races, they have a whole bunch of information, background, different types of, like, for example, arms and armor, Underdark cities, creatures of darkness, children of Loth, Wolf, and then they have the different types of drow. There's some other cool iconic creatures in here. There's minotaurs, ghouls, of course there's undead, giants. They have a good bit of information on the different giants. 5 or 6 pages. The Githyanki get 3 pages of the book, which I thought was cool. I wouldn't mind playing Githyanki, to be honest. Goblins are muscular now. Hop back. You've got jackal wares. They've got lycanthropes in the book. Kobolds aren't hunched over the way I remember them as much. They stand upright a lot more. They have a lot of your classic creatures from all over your traditional Forgotten Realms settings and some of your other settings in the D&D world. They've got Medusas, Liches, Mimic, obviously. The Mind Flayer is one of those iconic creatures. They also even have a variant on it. The Mind Flayer actually starts here on this page and goes over to this page, and he is just bad to the bone, really. Then they got the Minotaur, and they even have, I saw an undead Minotaur, which just looks really cool. I like the new picture on ogres. And I wanted to share the Tarrasque is pretty bad to the bone. Oh, he's right here actually, because there's the what I would call the legendary Three Kings. They're back. You have legendary actions. The Tarrasque actually gets 3, but the Tarrasque has natural armor of 25, people. 25. He also has 676 hit points. And look at this. If he fails a saving throw, he can choose to succeed 3 times a day. What a retard. Bad to the bone. I don't want to face him. But, you know, the Monster Manual has I think, elevated over the editions. Every edition it has gotten better. I think what they did different in this edition is they added more background material, more flavor on the creatures for players and for GMs to make the story richer and a better environment. With that said, it is a necessity for DMs to use this book. It's 350 pages, roughly, and it's $49.95. Not too pricey. You get a lot of art. You get a lot of meat. I mean, there's a lot of It looks like there's a lot of inserts and stuff, but those really aren't inserts. Those are all the stats, and you do get art, but you get a lot of meat where it counts, where you need it, where the things have historically been popular in Dungeons and Dragons. So, hope you enjoyed this flip through. I hope it helps you make a decision as to whether or not you need it. I haven't compared it to the online PDF, but I'm sure that there's a lot more information in here than there is on the PDF that they made available. Thanks for watching. It's been a flip through with Matt Lemke from Through Gamer Goggles, gamer-goggles.com. And please leave some comments. Let us know how we're doing. Check back next week. We'll have another flip through or some other RPG information for you. Have a good day.